Night had fallen over the ancient St. Clara Convent, where a modest hostel lay adjacent to the venerable church. Within its stone walls, devoted student nuns immersed themselves in rigorous studies of theology, philosophy, and sacred texts. Their daily routine was a blend of prayer, disciplined study, and quiet reflection, all carried out under the watchful eyes of experienced mentors. The convent, famed for both its spiritual purity and academic excellence, was a sanctuary of learning and faith. In the deep silence of the night, the hostel slumbered in peaceful repose. Every room held dreams of divine grace, until a distant sound shattered the calm, a faint police siren gradually crescendoing into a foreboding wail. As the echo grew louder, red and blue lights began to dance eerily across the hostel windows, painting the ancient walls with unsettling flashes of color. The rhythmic pulse of the siren merged with the soft rustling of leaves, transforming the quiet corridors into a stage for imminent chaos. Moments later, a commanding voice boomed from a police speaker, its urgent tone reverberating through the compound. High above, a police helicopter hovered, its searchlights piercing the darkness and casting long, jittery shadows over the convent's roof. The once tranquil haven now resembled a besieged fortress, encircled by the relentless presence of law enforcement. In that charged instant, the sanctity of St. Clara's hallowed halls collided with the raw intensity of an unfolding crisis, leaving every heart pounding with fear and anticipation as the night turned ominous. Inside the quiet dormitories, a mix of confusion and dread stirred among the sleeping nuns. Their prayers and nightly meditations were interrupted by the unexpected intrusion. The atmosphere grew tense as each second seemed to stretch into an eternity, foreshadowing a night that would forever alter their lives, inexorably so. The police swiftly descended upon the hostel, transforming the once tranquil site into a tightly cordoned crime scene. With military-like precision, they blocked every entrance, sidelining the hostel's warden and guards. Officers combed through every nook and cranny, leaving no detail unchecked. Every creak of the floorboards and every stray piece of evidence was scrutinized under harsh, unyielding lights as the investigation ramped up in intensity. Within minutes, the tense atmosphere escalated dramatically. In an orchestrated operation, 30 nun students, quiet scholars of faith and learning, were suddenly rounded up. They were ushered from their rooms into waiting vans, their shock and confusion palpable. The swift coordinated arrests rippled through the entire city. Neighbors and passers-by, startled by the mass detentions, exchanged anxious glances and whispered theories as the news of this unanticipated upheaval spread like wildfire. Curiosity quickly took hold on the streets. Dozens of onlookers attempted to record the unfolding chaos on their mobile phones, hoping to capture every moment of the dramatic event. However, any attempt to document the incident was met with ruthless force. Police officers intercepted and even shattered phones in their quest to maintain control. The public's whispers turned into a cacophony of rumors and disbelief, further deepening the mystery surrounding the arrests. Meanwhile, the police extended their operation to the adjoining church. In a striking move that shocked the community, the church, a long-held sanctuary for the nuns and locals alike, was also sealed off. As the investigation intensified, officers collected residential addresses from the remaining students within the hostel. One by one, these young women were escorted out and sent back to their homes, leaving behind a scene steeped in uncertainty and suspicion. Every element of the operation was executed with an air of urgency and exactitude. The sealing of the church and the methodical extraction of its residents added another layer of intrigue to an already complex scenario. As the night deepened, the community was left grappling with a profound sense of alarm, wondering what dark secrets might be hidden behind the closed doors of a place once considered sacred. As soon as the news broke, high-ranking political leaders and influential figures began issuing stern threats, demanding that the detained nuns be released immediately. The nation's elite was in uproar, and although no tangible evidence of wrongdoing had been presented to the public, the mounting pressure forced authorities to act swiftly. The gravity of the situation meant that the arrested nuns could not be held in custody for long, lest the political backlash intensify. In response, the police were given exactly 48 hours to gather every piece of evidence, under the constant threat that failure to do so would result in the suspension of all officers involved. With time ticking away, an urgent investigation was launched at both the hostel and the adjoining church. Officers moved with determined precision, combing every corner of the premises. Every shadow, every slight disturbance was scrutinized as they collected fingerprints, photographed scenes, and questioned anyone within reach. The high-security sweep left no area unmonitored as teams worked in tandem to secure documents, personal belongings, and any trace of evidence that might explain the bizarre events. Under immense pressure, the operation grew increasingly suspicious. Rumors swirled about hidden agendas and unspoken orders among the political elite. The investigators found themselves caught between bureaucratic pressure and the chaotic scene, every moment laden with uncertainty. Despite their exhaustive efforts on the same day, the officers struggled to piece together a coherent picture. The investigation, characterized by rapid yet methodical searching, revealed little more than the growing tension and fear that gripped the community, leaving unanswered questions in its wake. In this race against time, every officer felt the crushing weight of responsibility, as the fate of the investigation balanced precariously between imminent political retribution and the relentless pursuit of elusive truth. They pressed on, undeterred and resolute. Officer Mark's relentless investigation had already spanned 8 grueling hours. While the church and hostel had been thoroughly combed over by other teams, his attention remained laser-focused on every last corner of the hostel. The air was thick with tension as each officer worked diligently, but nothing could prepare them for what was about to unfold. In the quiet confines of the kitchen, where every utensil and appliance had been examined, an unexpected twist occurred. One officer, methodically checking the microwave oven, inadvertently pressed its button. In that split second, a hidden mechanism seemed to awaken. With a low, ominous rumble, a section of the wall began to shift, slowly at first, then with a sudden force that made the entire structure shudder. The wall, which had always appeared as a solid, unyielding barrier, slid aside to reveal a dark, narrow passage hidden within. Alarmed, Officer Mark bellowed for his team to gather. Within moments, the officers converged, their flashlights cutting through the encroaching darkness. The passageway was narrow and steep, its depths concealed in a cloak of impenetrable shadow. With measured steps, they proceeded, the sound of their footsteps echoing off ancient stone walls that held secrets of a bygone era. At the end of the passage, the beam of their flashlights illuminated a clandestine underground room, a space that seemed suspended in time. The room was shrouded in darkness, except for the harsh, artificial light that revealed something ghastly. Splatters of fresh blood decorated the walls. The crimson stains, stark and deliberate, appeared as if they were only a few days old, yet, paradoxically, the rest of the room was meticulously clean, void of any other signs of disturbance. This jarring juxtaposition of evidence left the officers with more questions than answers. It was as if the nuns had been forewarned, clearing away all traces of their presence before the police arrived, yet one unmistakable clue remained. The discovery of this underground chamber, this secret room hidden behind a kitchen appliance, transformed the investigation into a puzzle rife with hidden agendas and untold mysteries. Officer Mark's heart pounded as he realized that in uncovering one clue, they might have inadvertently exposed a web of deceit, carefully spun to both reveal and conceal the dark truth behind the convent's hallowed walls. The discovery of the underground room, with its stark, fresh bloodstains, had already set the investigation on a nerve-wracking course. However, finding nothing more in that hidden chamber compelled the officers to retrace their steps and re-examine the nun students' rooms with renewed determination. The atmosphere was charged with suspense as the team methodically reopened every door and scrutinized every item, driven by the urgent need to unearth any missed clue. Back in the dormitories, the scene was eerily still, yet every detail now seemed fraught with hidden meaning. As the officers combed through each room, a curious and unsettling pattern emerged. In a move that deepened the mystery, a pair of red socks, meticulously packed away, was discovered in each of the nuns' quarters. This consistent detail was as perplexing as it was ominous, hinting at an unspoken, secret purpose. Officer Mark, whose focus had never wavered since the revelation of the underground room, took a closer look at one of the red sock packages. With a mixture of trepidation and determination, he carefully unwrapped the package, only to reveal a set of razor-sharp blades. The glint of the metal in the dim light sent shivers down everyone's spine. These were no ordinary kitchen utensils. Their design was lethal, capable of dismembering a human in a single, swift motion. This shocking find only magnified the stakes of the investigation. The deliberate placement of such dangerous objects in every room pointed to a premeditated scheme, blurring the lines between sacred trust and sinister intent. The officers now faced a case that was growing ever more enigmatic, as every new detail raised more questions about the true nature of the operations within the convent. Officer Mark had been at the forefront of the investigation, meticulously combing through every inch of the hostel under his watch. As he led the search, his team uncovered a myriad of suspicious items: small, razor-sharp knives, clandestine documents, and unidentifiable objects tucked away in hidden corners. Every discovery was carefully documented, and by the end of the night, Officer Mark had compiled a comprehensive, detailed file. This file, brimming with evidence of bizarre and unsettling anomalies within the hostel, was intended to serve as the cornerstone for unraveling the perplexing mystery that had enveloped the convent. However, in a twist that left even his staunchest supporters in disbelief, less than a few hours later, a senior-ranking officer arrived with unexpected orders. Without warning, Officer Mark was handed a suspension letter, the formal charge citing his alleged involvement with the nun students' hostel, an accusation so grave that it led to his immediate removal from fieldwork. The charge suggested that he had, in some way, allowed the investigation to stray from its intended course, thereby casting doubt on his objectivity and judgment. Despite his protestations and desperate attempts to clarify the situation, it became evident that the case had taken on an entirely different dimension, one marred by internal conspiracies and deliberate cover-ups. Some within the police force were actively working to bury the case, stifling any further inquiry into the mysterious occurrences at the convent. The once resolute Officer Mark found himself ensnared in a web of betrayal, his career abruptly derailed as he struggled against forces determined to obscure the truth at all costs. In the wake of his suspension, murmurs of betrayal spread like wildfire through the ranks. Fellow officers, once confident in the investigation, now whispered about the possibility of a deliberate cover-up, as powerful interests sought to silence the unfolding mystery. With only 13 hours left out of the allotted 48, the investigation had reached a critical juncture. The sudden suspension of Officer Mark, a seasoned investigator and the case lead, had sent a shockwave through the ranks. As whispers of internal sabotage spread, the reins of the investigation were unexpectedly taken over by Captain Ralston, an Army officer renowned for his resolute determination and meticulous approach. Captain Ralston wasted no time. He methodically retraced every step taken so far, questioning witnesses and re-examining the scene with a fresh, unyielding eye. In his inquiries, he encountered a recurring theme. Nearly every individual, from staff to local residents, insisted that the nuns lived modest, unassuming lives. Their accounts consistently denied any involvement in dubious activities. Yet, despite the overwhelming narrative of simplicity, something else lingered beneath the surface. A breakthrough came from an unlikely source, a humble shopkeeper whose store stood right across from the hostel. He recounted an odd but persistent occurrence. Every Thursday at precisely 11:45 p.m., a mysterious black van would roll up to the hostel. The van's windows were so darkly tinted that no one could see inside, and it never departed on its scheduled time. This peculiar detail ignited a spark of curiosity in Captain Ralston, suggesting that a hidden element was at play. As the final hours dwindled, the pressure mounted. With no solid leads emerging and the bureaucratic weight of the case threatening to ensnare him as well, Captain Ralston felt the looming shadow of suspension. Yet, despite the encroaching deadline and the tangled web of inconsistencies, he steeled himself to pursue every potential clue. Determined to unravel the mystery behind the nuns, the van, and the inexplicable silence of the community, he pressed on, knowing that time was both his adversary and his motivator. In the final 5 hours before the deadline, the atmosphere at the police station was nothing short of electric. With every second ticking away, no new clues had emerged from the hostile search, and Captain Ralston was compelled to revisit the central hub of the investigation. The holding area for the nuns had transformed into a tense arena where whispered fears and guarded expressions dominated. The clamor of anxious voices and the persistent hum of fluorescent lights underscored the gravity of the unfolding events. Determined to glean any overlooked details, Captain Ralston summoned one of the detained nuns into a stark, sterile interrogation room. The air was thick with unspoken tension as he questioned her in a calm yet insistent tone. Though she remained largely reticent, her eyes betraying only fleeting hints of worry, her measured, cautious responses stirred something deep within him. Between her fragmented statements, it became apparent that she held a secret, an implication that the church's Bible cupboard concealed something of crucial importance. This subtle revelation, though veiled in ambiguity, sparked an intense curiosity in the captain, igniting a resolve to follow this lead, no matter how elusive. Barely a minute after the interview, Captain Ralston emerged from the interrogation room, his face marked by a strange mix of urgency and revelation. His normally composed features were now etched with an unmistakable tension. Without a word of explanation, he seized a group of officers and briskly made his way back to the church. His sudden departure left little time for questions or protest. It was as if he had caught a glimpse of a hidden truth that could no longer wait. Rushing through the dark corridors, Captain Ralston's every step resonated with determination. The dim light of the early hours only heightened the suspense, as shadows seemed to merge with the unknown. The captain's swift move toward the church was a clear signal to all. The case was entering a new, more dangerous phase. In that final, desperate stretch, every heartbeat echoed with the possibility that they were on the verge of unearthing a secret that could upend everything they thought they knew about the convent and its mysterious inhabitants. Captain Ralston wasted no time as he reached the church, realizing that its hallowed walls might conceal the key to the entire mystery. With his team assembled, he ordered a swift yet meticulous search of every nook and cranny of the sacred building. The team combed through hidden alcoves, dim corridors, and ancient pews, yet it was an unassuming, dusty cupboard that caught his discerning eye. Within the cupboard, which traditionally housed the church's Bible, lay an unexpected secret, a small, cleverly concealed locker. The discovery sent a chill through the investigative team. With cautious determination, Captain Ralston unlocked the hidden compartment. The air was heavy with anticipation as the lock clicked open, revealing a set of neatly organized files that had clearly been hidden away for a reason. The files, as he soon discovered, contained startling information. Detailed records of prominent political figures and high-ranking officers were meticulously listed, with each name accompanied by personal details and photographs. Every picture was marked with a bold red cross, a symbol that resonated with a foreboding sense of judgment and secrecy. The documents painted a chilling picture of covert operations and clandestine alliances, suggesting that those entrusted with power might be involved in far more than public service. The revelation was electrifying and perilous. It became evident that the church was not merely a sanctuary of faith, but the epicenter of a dangerous network of deceit and corruption. As Captain Ralston held the incriminating files, the gravity of the situation deepened. The files were the missing link, a key piece that could unravel a labyrinth of conspiracy involving faith, power, and betrayal. The discovery heralded a turning point in the case, setting the stage for explosive revelations that could shake the very foundations of both the church and the state. Captain Ralston pored over the incriminating list from the hidden files, his eyes widening as he recognized numerous names, individuals whose records of disappearance had been mysteriously logged at the police station, yet without any trace of their whereabouts. Every name on that list added a layer of grim intrigue to the case, deepening the mystery that had already engulfed the investigation. Just as he absorbed the shocking revelations, a distant voice reached his ears. Turning sharply, he caught an officer calling him from behind. The voice, urgent and insistent, directed him toward a narrow room discreetly tucked away behind the church stage. This room, typically reserved for quiet moments of prayer by priests or nuns, was an anomaly in its disuse. Intrigued and cautious, Captain Ralston followed the officer into the dimly lit space, where shadows danced along ancient stone walls. Inside, they discovered a concealed passage that led from the room to a door on the ground floor, a route long forgotten by routine patrols. Driven by a mix of professional determination and uneasy curiosity, the captain led his team down this secret corridor. Their flashlights revealed a ground storage room with a chilling odor that grew stronger with each step. As they advanced, the unmistakable smell of blood permeated the air. Upon a thorough inspection, they uncovered a ghastly sight. Human remains, partially concealed and long neglected, lay strewn about near what appeared to be an old tomb. The names on the recovered remains matched those at the bottom of the list. It was evident that these individuals had been raided before anyone could properly account for them, an unsettling detail that sent shockwaves through the team. In that eerie, blood-stained chamber, the true extent of the conspiracy began to reveal itself, plunging the investigation into deeper darkness. Captain Ralston wasted no time in consolidating every shred of evidence he had painstakingly gathered. With the clock ticking and tensions running high, he meticulously compiled a comprehensive report that detailed each discovery, from the secret files in the hidden cupboard to the chilling evidence in the underground room. Every photograph, witness statement, and forensic note was organized with precision, ensuring that nothing was overlooked. His methodical approach was not only swift, but also exact, designed to withstand the most rigorous legal scrutiny. Within hours, the report reached headquarters, prompting immediate action. The clear and irrefutable evidence compelled the authorities to detain the nun students for remand and subsequent court proceedings. In court, every piece of evidence was presented with clarity, aligning with established laws and regulations that demanded justice for the public. As the proceedings unfolded, the nuns maintained that they were not the masterminds, but rather pawns in a larger, more sinister game. They claimed that their portrayal as culprits was a calculated effort to divert attention from the true perpetrators, those deeply entrenched in a web of corruption and deceit. The courtroom became a battleground of conflicting narratives. While the legal machinery worked to impose the prescribed punishments according to the law, the unsettling undercurrents of conspiracy and manipulation lingered in every testimony. Captain Ralston's report stood as a testament to his unwavering commitment to the truth, a truth that challenged the very foundations of the established order and left everyone questioning where guilt truly lay. The moment the damning list was revealed, whispers turned into panicked rumors. The very names of the most influential culprits were already linked to a mass exodus. As news spread, it became evident that those once considered untouchable had already fled the country, disappearing into the shadows of international borders before any formal arrest could be made. Their swift escape added a layer of betrayal and disbelief to an already convoluted case, leaving the investigative team grappling with a sense of urgency and frustration. Determined not to let them vanish without consequences, Captain Ralston dedicated himself to tracking down these elusive figures. With relentless perseverance, he managed to apprehend 4 or 5 of the fugitives, bringing them into custody amid the chaos. However, just as hope began to glimmer, powerful forces intervened. High-ranking officials, with their own hidden agendas, exerted pressure that led to the immediate release of the detained individuals. The interference, cloaked in bureaucratic maneuvering and political influence, underscored the depth of corruption within the system. In a final twist, despite his best efforts and a burning desire for justice, Captain Ralston found his hands tied. He longed to ensure that these perpetrators would face the consequences of their actions and be brought back to the country. Yet, the authorities, protective of their inner circles and fearful of exposing further scandal, refused to support his mission. The case, shrouded in manipulation and high-level cover-ups, left Captain Ralston with a bitter taste of defeat and an unresolved call for accountability. As the bus returning from court carried the detained nuns along a desolate road, an unanticipated explosion shattered the stillness of the night. The blast was both sudden and cataclysmic, igniting the bus in a conflagration that scattered its contents and sent shockwaves through the gathering crowd. In that dramatic moment, what was meant to be a routine transfer turned into a scene of chaos and horror as flames and debris danced wildly in the air. Almost immediately following the explosion, a sinister pattern emerged. One by one, the painstakingly collected evidence began to vanish without explanation. Vital files, meticulously archived over countless hours, were found engulfed in flames mere hours after the incident, their contents lost forever. Equally disconcerting was the disappearance of smaller pieces of evidence, seemingly trivial items that, together, painted a damning picture of corruption and conspiracy. It was as if a deliberate effort had been made to erase every trace of the investigation. In a matter of hours, the entire case was abruptly closed. No official statements were released. Media coverage was swiftly silenced, and any discussion of the events was effectively banned by authorities. Even a cursory search online yielded nothing but voids where evidence once lay. Meanwhile, those names listed among the perpetrators reappeared unscathed, resuming lives of comfort and ease. The case's sudden, mysterious end left behind only a lingering sense of injustice and an unsettling reminder that, in the corridors of power, truth can be extinguished as quickly as a burst of flame.